Hello beautiful people, I'm RaishPhoenix. To my returning subscribers, thank you for joining me in another video, and to anybody who may be new here, welcome, come on in and let's chat. I wanted to talk about my experience in 2020, specifically the good things that came out of it, healthy habits, things that helped with my mental health, overall health, and the things that I took away from it that I want to apply in the year of 2021. Before I get into this video, I do want to say that I am not in any way, shape, or form a therapist. I never studied anything except for like high school grade. I never studied anything in psychology. I've always felt like I'm in tune with a deeper part of just existing or having a way of being able to get through things that kind of cloud our vision in terms of like what we really want in life, working towards it. I don't know, it's kind of difficult to describe, but pretty much what I like to do on this channel is every now and then I like to create videos in which I speak about my experience in life. And as I go through life and I realize different things in terms of the behaviors that were impacting me negatively versus the things that I'm learning, I like to share that in hopes to help others who may be going through situations that are similar, or maybe in some way, shape, or form to trigger a response to improve your life from wherever you may be at your point in your journey. And I think it's healing, it's healing for me to say these things out loud and to just put that energy out into the universe. It's healing to know that from sharing these things I can help others. So that's why I make videos like this. And let's get into this one. In 2020, I felt like my boundaries are finally being respected. First of all, I know that internally I already deal with a lot of guilt doing what's best for me. It's already very difficult for me to prioritize myself because I feel like my upbringing was kind of, in a way, linked to my worth is in how well I do something. I feel like when it came to doing chores or when it came to hearing my parents yell versus not yelling, if I did something right, if I did what I was told, that was when things were fine. But if I did the wrong thing, if I did something that people didn't like, specifically around the idea of if I do something that people don't like, bad things happen. And that's kind of the root of my anxiety, and that's the root of why I experience so much guilt when it comes to putting myself first, because I think that I still need to learn how to accept that people cannot like what is best for me, meaning that they can have a response in which they don't like that I have to spend less time with them. They don't like that putting myself first means that I am doing things that take up more of my time, I think that I need to just accept that that is something that happens, and even though it happens, I still need to put myself first and prioritize the things that are important to me, because that's how I'll move forward in life. I can't hold somebody's hand through everything, and that guilt, regardless of how people kind of react towards me, that guilt is always going to be there when it comes to doing what's best for myself. So with quarantine, I felt that I finally had a way to say no, and it was respected. Of course, in 2020, nobody really asked me to go anywhere, and if they did and I said no, they understood it. But it's kind of, I don't know, it's one of those things where looking at it, it's amazing that someone can be like, hey, I understand the circumstances of what's going on, and if you live with individuals who are immune compromised, or if you yourself are immune compromised, like, I understand the severity of this virus, and of course being precautious as possible, as much as possible, but it kind of sucks from my perspective, for me, in terms of specifically talking about boundaries being respected. It kind of sucks that it takes a virus for me to say no to be enough to be enough, like, I feel like there are times when it's like I say no and it's like, all right, well, I'll see about next time, or all right, I'll see if I don't know, maybe you want to do this next time. It's like, I don't know, I feel like there's always a push, when I say no, and if there isn't, there is some type of thing said after I say no to kind of guilt me for the decision I made. I don't know, I feel like that happened once or twice last year where somebody either wanted to see me in person or somebody wanted to make an effort to spend more time with me. But it's like where I am at in my life right now, there are certain things that are important to me. And of course, like taking care of my mental health, my spiritual health, all of that is a necessity. It's not compromisable. And I think that it's difficult for me to express at times that the people that want to spend time with me have behaviors that set me back from the progress I'm trying to make. And that's why I set those boundaries. That's why I don't make as much time for them. That's why I have to keep my distance, because how much can I say no? It's like, I don't like that this particular thing is done around me, but there's no effort put in to stop. So it's like, I can't be around you anymore, you know? But I say all that because the root of everything I'm trying to pull back is that it felt amazing to finally just be able to say no and there wasn't pushback, you know? The guilting was still there. Unfortunately, I still experience moments where people guilted me for prioritizing myself, but for once it's like I was able to prioritize myself and not feel maybe as much guilt or as much pushback as I would have before everything that happened in 2020. I also felt like I could finally be human. And I say human because it's going to be, the meaning of that is of course going to be different for everybody depending on their life situations. But for me, like I already said, with my upbringing, a lot of, I feel, when I really think about it, I feel like a lot of my worth as a child was put in my ability to do things right. You know, there wasn't really room for mistakes. It's like, I told you what to do, why didn't you do it type of energy, you know? And I feel like I was finally allowed to be human in 2020 because, of course, with all of us going through this for the first time in our life, nobody knows, in the beginning, nobody knows what the right thing to do. It's like, I remember at first how they were kind of going back and forth between, okay, wear a mask, don't wear a mask, okay, don't wear it because, you know, it's needed for medical use. Okay, wait, no, use it because it can decrease how much the virus spreads. And I say all that because we had to work through going through this to figure out the right thing to do. And for me, the parallel I felt with that in my life, completely not related to specifically how I responded to the virus, but specifically related in kind of like in life, because for me it was extremely scary, you know? In the beginning of hearing about the virus and everything, it was scary. I didn't know how I don't know, it's just like, it's one of those things where just being on social media and seeing people at first take photos and share videos of how empty the stores were, even though I wasn't going to the store specifically because there are specific family members in my house who take care of going out, and we decrease, like, we have it handled, like, we're not joking around with this at all, of course, but just seeing pictures online of the stores being empty and other family members telling, like in other states, telling like my family members here about how it looked and everything, it's just like there was a lot of fear and anticipation for not being able to get what we needed when they would go to the store. That kind of built up so much like different emotional roller coasters, you know? Like there are days when I'd wake up and I'd be perfectly fine, and then the next day I'd feel so much anxiety, and then the next day I felt scared. And there are days where it's just like, it's not even that I heard anything on the news, it's not that anybody was showing me anything, but it's just like my moods would just fluctuate. And I definitely also feel like that's related to me being an empath in general. I can just feel the energy of the universe overall. But the reason why I feel like that, I don't know, it felt like for once, even though I'm going through so much and it was like a lot to emotionally kind of go through, I feel like it forced me to admit, okay, I'm not okay enough to reach out to anybody to check how they're doing. Or, okay, I don't know how to navigate through this. I'm just going to quarantine, you know? It's like, I feel like what happened for me personally triggered a lot of, okay, like, what can I do to kind of just be honest with myself in this moment? To be honest that, like I already said, like, I don't have the emotional capacity to check on others right now. I don't have, like, I need to spend more time taking care of myself, prioritizing my joy. That was another thing last year that I had to do a lot. Prioritizing my joy, making sure that I'm not sitting on the computer looking at social media and intaking all these things that are happening. Is it important to stay informed? Yes, but I don't think that it's healthy for 24/7 to be watching bad things happening and expect yourself to have the emotional capacity to step out into the world and be perfectly fine after that. So I felt like it forced me to admit, like, I don't know what's going on. I don't have the answers. There's going to be things that don't make sense to me, but the least I can do for myself is just prioritize my joy, stay informed, but not over informed, I guess is the kind of word I'm looking for. Like, don't drown myself in things that are happening. Admit that even though I may be thinking about somebody and may want to reach out, I can't right now because I don't even know if I'm okay. Like, how can I check on somebody else if I don't know if I'm okay, So I felt like it forced me to just be human. Which brings me to my next point. If any of you guys follow me on Instagram, I'm sure you noticed I stopped posting. I didn't post on Instagram pretty much as soon as everything happened with the pandemic, as soon as the pandemic started, I stopped posting because, like I said, it was a lot emotionally for me to kind of navigate through, and it just didn't feel natural for me to post during that time. And then it also made me realize that it's like I just couldn't, with everything that happened, the people we lost, with George Floyd, with, like, there were so many. The thing that kind of overwhelms me even reflecting back on it is that there's so many bad things that happened that I can't remember it all. That's what's crazy to me. And it's not even just the pandemic, the people that passed away. I'm speechless, honestly, on that part. I can't really say much about that, but I had to make sure I decreased how much I was on social media. So I stopped posting on Instagram, and every now and then I would go on Twitter, but even when I went on Twitter, it was just to look at specific profiles that I knew were okay for my mental health. I didn't scroll on, actually scroll on my home screen on Twitter between June till, like, the beginning of this year. Like, that was the time I actually started scrolling. Other than that, I was just checking specific profiles so I could make sure that I was maintaining my mental health and prioritizing my joy. Another thing, at first not by choice, but then eventually by choice, is that my phone was off. My phone is old as hell. I'll put that out there. It's old as hell, so the battery that's in it is dead. It was dead, which means as soon as I put that battery in, so I take my battery out to charge because I can't even, my phone's old. So I had to take the battery out to charge it, and when I would use my phone for, like, let's say a good hour, it'd be dead. So my plan initially was to get a new phone, and I didn't want to have to invest in the one that I have already, but it wasn't realistic with what was going on and just the income I was making in general, so I decided to get another phone battery. But at the same time, I realized that there was something very freeing about having my phone off and not seeing a flashing light that instantly made me, like, jump up and grab it, I felt like, I don't know, every now and then I think about things like, I wonder what I used to do before YouTube existed. And by YouTube, I don't mean, like, making a channel or videos, I mean, like, before there was a platform to watch videos on, like, before Instagram, before Twitter. It's like, what was I doing? And then it's like, oh, I was reading a manga. I was playing my PS2. I was playing my Game Boy. Like there's certain things that I feel like slowly but gradually we kind of step away from these things that brought us joy, and we start exposing ourselves more to the reactions of people or the opinions of others, and it kind of creates these limitations in our lives of what's natural for us. And I know that's not the case for everybody, but for me, I can definitely say, like, just being on Twitter, like, Twitter gives me anxiety, you know? There's a part of me that loves Twitter because I feel like the difference I feel between Twitter versus Instagram is, like, Instagram, I feel like there's kind of this idea of always posting a picture that just looks good, like making it presentable. But for Twitter, I like that you can repost or retweet the other things that people have said, the other work that people have done. I think it gives people an opportunity to highlight the beauty of other people's work. But you can also highlight the toxic stuff and the things of people getting hurt every day and make people feel guilty for anything, you know? And it's like a lot of what frustrated me about, so I'd say last year is when I started using Twitter more often, and I feel like at first I didn't really get why people are like, oh, like Twitter is like toxic. I was just like, I didn't get it because I wasn't really exposing myself to it, so I never saw it. And then the biggest thing that frustrated me was that I felt like there was a pressure to be aware of who was liking what versus like who is liking content that is for Black Lives Matter versus people that aren't liking Black Lives Matter stuff. And I think accountability is important. I think challenging people's thought for things on that is important. But what frustrated me was when I started to feel like I had to pay attention to who was and wasn't liking particular things, when my main concern is my family coming back from the grocery alive, is my family making sure that they're okay and they're not getting the virus, is doing whatever part I have to in this household to make sure that I am decreasing the contact between people who are leaving the house versus coming in, you know? And it's not that that's something that's difficult to do, but it's frustrating when, as a Black individual who lives in racism and being exposed to like these fucked up ideas, like I don't even know how else to say it, like it pisses me off that in the midst of this being my life, there are people who are taking the time to make me feel like I should be aware of who I am and am not following based off of the stuff that they like. And at the end of the day, when it's time for me to decide whether or not I'm going to still follow this person based off of what they're for, I'll make that decision. Don't worry, like, I'll make that decision because I'm very aware of what I intake on a daily basis. It's very important to me that the profiles and the places that I follow make me feel motivated, seen, validated, and I get pretty much the same energy I'm putting out into the universe back from me when I'm scrolling through my my newsfeed or when I'm scrolling through my timeline. Like, that's very important to me. But it frustrates me when I feel like I have to be watching who I follow. And when I say watching, I mean like watching, like, I saw that you liked that tweet about so-and-so wearing a dress. Like, what does that really mean? Like, you know, like I don't care about that right now. I care about my health. I care about my family's health. I care about, like, my family being okay. Why am I supposed to be paying attention to who likes what? Like, I don't care, you know? And there was a moment where I felt like I got anxiety to the point that I was shaking, that I had to just stop being on Twitter because I was just like, what the hell? Like, I can't deal with this, you know? Now, I do want to get a little bit more specific about this because it is very important, obviously, to address racist behavior, you know? And obviously, for it to be addressed, people need to have that conversation and unlearn the bullshit, you know? So for people who are capable in that moment of having that conversation, that's fine, you know? When I say that's fine, I mean that I think that it's important for people, if they can, to have that conversation in whatever space they need to unlearn the racist behavior. But what I have a problem with is if, let's say, person A is being extremely racist and person B comes in and they're like, hey, I see you're exuding a lot of racist behavior, let's address that shit. And that when person B is talking to person A about this, person B randomly decides to say, hey, well, because you don't know what I mean, let me get my black friend person C and let them talk to you about what you're doing. That's what I have an issue with. That is what pisses me off, because person C was never part of this discussion. Person C was never in any way, shape, or form in this, you know? And it's just like, for someone who is black to be pulled into a discussion about people being racist when they never express any desire to be in this, that's what I have an issue with. And unfortunately, there was a moment where I was tagged in something that I never asked to be tagged in. I do understand that it was never in any way, shape, or form to harm me. It was never in any way, shape, or form to act negatively upon me. But what I have an issue with is that in the midst of going through everything that I am in my life, my attention was put on something that is the least of my worries, the least of my concerns, and it gave me anxiety because it made me feel like I had to act on something that would prove that I'm a certain way, as opposed to me prioritizing my health, prioritizing the health of my family. You know, that's what created a lot of anxiety within me. So I say all that because that is one of the reasons why I decided, you know, I need to stay away from social media. You know, that's why I was just like, you know, I can't do this, you know? I think that there are people that are capable of addressing something right then and there, and then there are people that need time because of what is going on in their life, and I'm one of those people that needs time because of what's going on in my life. And when I feel like I'm being pulled into a certain space to act on something that I don't even have the emotional capacity to deal with, that is where my issue is. So stepping away from my phone, having it off, and I still have it off now, like I still keep it off as much as possible. And if people need to reach me, they know where to reach me. You know, I've expressed that to them. You know, it is what it is, but keeping my phone off helped me so much because I felt like I finally started to reconnect with things that I had kind of forgotten before social media existed. I started reading a manga again. I started watching anime and cartoons, and I know I always say this, that I want to start like being more constant about that, but I feel like last year I was finally able to get back to that space, and even playing video games again, you know. That has been extremely refreshing to get back in touch with those things that when I was younger brought me a lot of peace. Also, with having a lot of individuals working from home now, it made me feel extremely validated in what I do, because I don't know how many other entrepreneurs or content creators feel like this, but before the pandemic happened, I felt like working from home wasn't seen as a serious job. I feel like if you have any type of job that you can work from home, I feel like to some degree there's going to be somebody out there who thinks that it's less work, or that it's less serious, or that it's not a real job if you're working from a home space. And I feel like for, obviously not everybody can work from home, but I feel like for the people that started working from home because of the pandemic, I feel like seeing people with serious jobs, you know, being able, if they can, bring it to home and work from home in a safe environment, I felt validated. I felt like now my job is seen as serious in some way, you know? I can't really say directly if somebody has said something to me that had made me feel like it was less of a serious job for me to be a content creator. For anybody who may be new here and doesn't know yet, I do digital illustration, I do makeup tutorials, I do cosplay, I edit my videos, I take my photos, content creation, you know, just a round of everything that I do. But I feel like those things aren't taken as seriously as a real job. So because, and sometimes I really feel like it's because it's from home, you know? I think that once people think that you work from home, it's easy, you know, but it's not. And you have to be able to set times for your breaks, know when you're going to eat, be consistent about working, don't get distracted, have a space or have a mindset where you can keep on top of things. You know, there isn't anybody around telling you do this, all right, now do that, all right, take your break. Like, it takes a lot of work to work from home. And it's funny because I remember when my brother started, when he got the confirmation that he can work from home, I was just like, all right, like, you're gonna see now, like, it's gonna be interesting to see, like, how you work from home, like, how this is for you. And he's like, yeah, I got it, it's fine. Like, a couple weeks in, he's just like he pretty much just had a conversation with me about how he has seen a difference in his ability to, like, just stay focused and work from home. And it's just like, yeah, I told you, like, it's not working from home isn't easy. It's just as much work as if you were working in a workspace, and if not more, because you really have to be on top of your own stuff. But for me, it's like I always enjoyed, or not I always enjoyed, like, since I've been doing it, because I've been doing it for now, I started this towards the end of 2018, so now I'm up, like, approaching my third year of doing this. But the thing that I love about working from home is that I feel like I can prioritize my health, you know, because there have been multiple times where I've been working at a specific location and I felt like I had to put my health on the side to just do what I had to do, because there have been moments where I've thrown up at work. There have been moments where I didn't have enough strength to keep working. And what I like about working from home is just, like, I can be like, like, do I feel a certain way? Maybe I should lay down for a little before I continue on this project, you know? Like, I like that I have the option to better take care of my health. And I know that obviously it's a privilege to work from home, and that not everybody has this option with whatever it is that they choose to do with their life. But I do still want to express that, like, working from home, like, I felt a lot more validated in my line of work. One of the biggest takeaways for me in 2020, and one of the things that brought me the most joy, so I started being more active on Twitch, and my heart, you know, like, that helped me so much because it finally gave me an opportunity to connect with others who kind of share the same energy or the same drive as me. I've found a lot of beautiful communities on Twitch, being able to speak with people almost on a daily basis who have the same energy, we have the same, like, humor, we still have, like, the same drive to work towards whatever goals we have. Like, it was so amazing to find these spaces. The biggest thing that it taught me was what is possible for me. I always prioritize others before myself in the past. And it's not like it took me a while to realize that I was doing it. You know, I'd say after 2018, that's when a lot changed for me. Yeah, like, I wasn't being too kind to myself. Not that I was treating myself the worst, but if somebody needed me, I was there. If I had to drop everything for somebody, I would do it. If somebody wanted me to hang out with them, I would. If somebody needed me to, like, I gave the majority of my time to others, you know, and whether it was work or friends or family, you know, in whatever duration of time that I would see them or whatever time I could give them, I always gave it to other people. And it was at a point where, yeah, I would still draw and I'd still work on the things that I wanted to, but I wasn't really, I don't think I was putting in as much effort to prioritize where I wanted to be as much as I am now. I don't think I was at all. So being in supportive communities kind of showed me what support can look like, you know, because the way I was in the past, I thought it was just normal for people to not really care about what I do, you know? Like, of course I got compliments, like, family members or friends would tell me, hey, like, you're really talented, this is great, or whatever, but not all of them, but a lot of them, I never felt like they really genuinely cared. Like, I don't think they really cared about my success. I don't think they really knew how much being an artist or doing my makeup or cosplaying really meant to me. Like, I don't think they really knew that it was part of my mental health, that it was part of something that brought me a lot of joy. And I am going to hold myself accountable and say that I never really stressed that to them. I never really said, hey, I want you to be more supportive, or hey, I really want you or need you to be more aware of the fact that these things mean a lot to me. So I'm going to hold myself accountable because I never communicated that to them. So they're not going to magically know unless I tell them. Like, I will hold myself accountable for that. But there is also a part of me that just genuinely craves genuine people. And when I say genuine, I mean that it hits different for me when somebody naturally sees what I do and they're like, yo, that's dope, you know? Like, that hits different versus when I'm with somebody 24/7 and I show it to them and they're like, you know, that's cool, that's really, you know, that's great, that's cool, you know? Like, those energies are different for me, and I really crave being around other creatives, being around other entrepreneurs, being around other people that are building their brands, because the energy that I feel around them is just different. It's like there's a follow through with what they say, you know? There's just this drive because, like I said, the same thing with working from home. You have to be able to stay on top of what you're doing. You have to be able to push yourself and, you know, still take care of your health and still notice when you need to take a break or when you need to slow down on something that you're working on, or when it's not realistic or when it is realistic. I think that there's a different energy, you know? You can't apply the same energy that you would for working for a company, because when you're working for a company, you're doing what they say, you know? It's like you show up to get what they want done. But when you're an entrepreneur, you show up for yourself, you know? Like, you got to have that drive. And that is a completely different energy, and I crave being around people like that. And I never really realized it until I was exposed to it, and I was just like, oh my god, like, this is what I always needed. I always needed to be around other energies like that, but also energies that prioritize mental health, that are aware, that are conscious, that understand about speaking things into existence, understand about manifesting, understand about energy and the energy you're putting out into the universe. Like, it's very important for me to be around that, because I could be around other entrepreneurs, but if they feel emotionally disconnected, if they feel like they're just there to get the money but not really connect with the people, I can't be around that, you know? Being around other people who are genuine, who you see moved by people supporting them like that means a lot to me. And it means a lot to me when people genuinely care about what I do and they see it, because I've been in situations before where people have been in my life forever, you know? People have been around me forever and they still don't get what I do. They don't get my art. They think it's pretty, they like it, they think it's nice, but they don't get the message and the meaning behind it. And then there are people who I met like a month ago, a week ago, a year ago, and they get it, they see it, you know? I'm so grateful for those people that I've connected with that get my work, you know? Like, it's so validating, and being around supportive people like that has been the absolute world to me. In 2020, I also realized or started paying more attention to how tension and anxiety manifests physically in my body. I watched a video with Nima Tang speaking on what it's like to be a Black girl going to therapy and figuring out the best therapist to go to. And she was talking about anxiety and how she would like tense her shoulders up or shrug them. I don't really know how to describe this motion, but pretty much she was saying how her anxiety manifests in her shoulders. And once she said that, now I haven't been to a psychologist and I haven't been to a therapist, but from what I've experienced, I'm pretty sure I have anxiety. Like, I have anxiety, you know, and I don't think that it's super severe, but when it happens, it happens. When she was speaking about that, I realized that that's something that happens to me too. Like, there will be moments when I'm working on my art, or if I start thinking a lot, because I'm a very self-reflective person. I often think about, like, even for just planning my daily basis, I think about, okay, if I'm going to do this, what's the best day? Okay, what's the weather? Okay, when am I going to work on this? How many hours am I going to... Like, I think about so many things, you know, when it comes to just executing the things I want to get done. So when she spoke about how tense her shoulders are, I realize that I tend to do that when I'm thinking about all those things. Like my shoulders get tense, and I realize that I also tend to tense up my abdominal muscles, like when I'm just deep in thought and I kind of don't know what the answer is what I'm thinking about. Like I just tense up my body. So I started stretching more often, being aware of what my body feels like when my muscles are relaxed versus when they're tense. There are specific stretches that I've been doing to make sure that I'm not holding tension in my body, and also just being aware of my body. You know, I don't really know how else to say it, but I'm really glad that I started becoming more aware of those things, because it's important. I gotta take care of myself, you know? So the more I learn about myself and the more that I realize these certain things that happen, it helps me realize the things that I can change or improve that I'm doing so that I can give myself a better quality of life. So finally, talking about moving into 2021. One of the things I did, I think on New Year's Eve, or maybe the day before that, I think on New Year's Eve. Yeah, on New Year's Eve, for the first time, I wrote down this first part was not the first time. I wrote down a list of all the things that I accomplished, and that was extremely affirming, because in the midst of all the chaos that happened in 2020, it was really nice to see the good that came out of it, and to see what I was still able to accomplish in an environment like that. In the state of the world, you know, it was great to just write something down and reflect on it and be like, okay, this is the good that happened. This is what I have improved on. And for the first time, I made a vision board. So I've never made a vision board before, but I know that I've seen a lot of people speak about how it's helped them manifest things. I thought I would give it a try, because I don't know if you guys remember back in, I think, 2019. But back in 2019, I did a monthly video, and then I also made a list of affirmations, which helped me a lot with just affirming the things that I wanted to change about myself, and then also just holding myself accountable and talking about the things that I learned each month. I really enjoyed doing that, but by the end of the year, I realized that this was meant to just serve me for that year and that moment in time, and it didn't feel like it was something I still needed to do. So when I created the vision board, what I loved about it was that it gave me a visual interpretation of what I wanted to do. Because usually I write things down, but visually taking pictures and putting it together was like, it was really dope to see everything, to see colors applied to what I want to create. And from that list, I also decided to make a list of things that I want to buy in order to help me manifest everything I put on my vision board. And I also created a list of what I want to focus on for each month in terms of like shoots, because one of the things I want to do is be more consistent with having like a shoot for the month, you know? So without giving too much away, I do want to be more consistent with like cosplay and makeup shoots. Sometimes I kind of just don't have a plan. Like, I know what I want to do. It's like, oh, I want to shoot this cosplay and this one and that one, but I don't usually have like a plan for what month or for what reason or whatever. So it was nice to kind of, you know, take this major thing as a vision board and then break it down into months, and then break it down into things that I want to purchase that will help me get to what's on the vision board. Just having that, you know, that visual, and then having it somewhere hanging on my wall where I can see it, that helps tremendously with just staying focused, because that's something else I need to work on, because I get so caught up in like rooting for other people and for I get caught up in all these other things that I find exciting, like fan art and drawing that stuff. But this year I really want to focus on accomplishing the things that are like for me and like come from me, like having more original art, showing what it is that I really want to do and accomplish with my work. Like, I really want to start doing that, because like I said, I get distracted. I really do. And although I do work and I get things done, I think that I could do a better job at being more focused in a particular thing so that I get that done, as opposed to, oh, let's work on this, draw this in your style. Let's work on this fan art. Oh my god, is so-and-so streaming? Let me watch them for 10 hours, you know, like, that's an exaggeration, but you know, like, I just want to be more focused on what it is I want to accomplish. So this next thing I also started working on last year, but I'm probably going to be working on this for the rest of my life because it's just something that needs to be done, but I'm going to continue working on my confidence. So when it comes to my confidence, specifically in what I am, how do I word it? It's kind of tricky to explain this because I often feel that I am toning down my energy, or I'm toning down how comfortable or willing I am to do certain things because I'm afraid it will make other people uncomfortable. My intentions are never to harm others, my intentions are never to make others uncomfortable, my intentions are pure, you know? But sometimes I anticipate, and it's not that anybody ever told me I don't like this, or that anybody has ever said, hey, if you do this, that, I don't know what you're doing, you know? Nobody has ever said anything directly to me about that, but I've often felt like I've always toned myself down because I anticipate that people that have been in my life, like either family members or friends that I've been around my entire life, it'll make them uncomfortable. And I'm going to hold myself accountable because the times that I have done something that has felt genuine to my energy and that has felt necessary for me to be on this journey of self-love and self-care and confidence building, it has been received very well, you know, but there's still a part of me that feels guilty or bad, or I don't know, for wanting to do certain things. That's something that I am going to continue working on. I already have some ideas for some shoots that I want to do this year that is going to help me with my confidence, because there's certain things I want to do and I tone myself down because I'm afraid of how others will respond to it. But at the end of the day, like, the page I created is for me, you know, like when you click follow, you're following me. It's me. It's my work. It's my content. It's the things that I want to put out into the world. And you know, if somebody doesn't like it, that's fine. Like, they don't have to. But I'm sick of limiting myself and limiting the way I express myself because I anticipate that it might get somebody it might give somebody the wrong idea. And it's like, regardless of if it does or doesn't, you know, they have every right to separate themselves from me. They have every right to say, hey, this isn't for me, this isn't what I wanted, you know, I gotta go, you know, like, that's cool, that's fine, but I'm sick of limiting myself and keeping myself in a box. My friend actually made this point to me a year or so ago, and when she said it, it just stuck with me, but she told me how it's possible that even if people don't say things to you directly, that if you're in an environment where you hear people talking about a certain thing, it's very much possible that you can internalize it and start believing it about yourself. So the best example I have of that is, like, let's say if I constantly hear somebody on the phone referring to somebody in their life as a burden, even if they're not saying it to me, if I hear that on a daily basis, it's possible that if I'm receptive to it, I might start thinking I'm a burden because I may feel guilt for the help that I need in my life. And if I start feeling guilt for the help, like, if the guilt is already there, you know, that's pretty much the soil, and people or somebody on the phone saying somebody else is a burden is pretty much planting the seed and me being receptive to it because I already feel guilty for doing what I have to do. And there it is, you know, like, it's very much possible that if somebody says certain things around you, that you can start internalizing it if you were already guilty, or already felt guilt, or already felt ashamed, or already felt some type of way about what you know you have to do, but you don't yet have fully the strength to do it without being as worried about what others will say. If somebody keeps saying something around you, it can affect you. And that's definitely happened to me, where it's like, I think that I've just been around, even it can be in movies, you know, like, it can be anywhere, you know, it can be anywhere, that if somebody keeps talking about a certain thing and you already have it within you that you feel guilty, you may be receptive to that, and then that can be creating another limitation in your life about why you won't follow through with something that you know you're meant to do. this is something I need to work on. Like, at least I have an awareness of that being possible, you know? I really need to push through these things that are holding me back, because at the end of the day, it's never somebody saying something directly to me. It's what I anticipate. It's what I think will happen. And regardless of what happens, I want to give myself the best quality of life. And although others may not understand, or others may not get it, or maybe they'll like it or love it, regardless of however it's perceived, it's not about them at the end of the day. It's about me. It's about me following through with the actions that feel most in line with my essence, my being, and being who I'm meant to be, you know? Just embracing myself in whatever way is most comfortable. And that makes me reflect on when I was younger, like when I was much younger, I used to have anxiety attacks about death. I used to be afraid of dying. It's kind of hard to speak on because I feel like explaining it is different from feeling it, you know? And there would be moments when I'm alone, specifically like if I was in the bathroom straightening my hair, or if I was in my room after I just finished watching a movie. Like, it's always when I'm alone. That's when I would get these anxiety attacks about death. And it would be that I would have this vision of myself just floating in space, like just infinite space by myself, and just like contemplating or thinking about what I did when I was alive. And if, I don't know, like there was something, like even saying it right now, I can't even express to you guys the level of anxiety I felt, because like I don't feel it anymore, so it's very hard to explain it. And honestly, I don't want to feel that anymore. I'm glad that I stopped having those anxiety attacks about that. But pretty much when it would happen, I know that it would become difficult for me to breathe. I remember that I would go into like a fetal position wherever I was. Like if I was standing, I would just like fall down to the floor, like a stoop or squat on the floor, and I just hold my head and like try to like get myself out of that vision. But it was kind of like I don't know, it felt like I was being kind of put in this very tight space that was also very empty and infinite at the same time, and it's very difficult to explain. But I remember that I told my friend at the time about how I used to have panic attacks about death. And sometimes what I would do to get myself out of that is that I would think about before I was born. So like thinking about the idea of, okay, one day I wasn't like this, like I wasn't here on this plane of existence, I wasn't alive like this, you know? And when I would think about that, it wasn't as frightening. But when I would think about dying, that was what was frightening. And after I had told him about that, he was just like, it sounds like you're afraid to live. And I'm just lit like a little moment of silence for that because when he said that, I was just like, oh shit, like I think you're right. And when I think about it, when I think about the things that often hold me back in life, yeah, I am kind of afraid to live. And I'm afraid to live because there are times when the hardest thing for me to do is to just do what's best for me without feeling guilt towards the people that want something different from me. And sometimes I think about, you know, if I never wanted more out of this friendship, it would have worked. If I never wanted something else, it would have worked. If I could have just listened to what they said, it would have been fine. If I would have just been a damn puppet and listened to what they said, they would have never yelled at me. They would have never been passive aggressive with me. You know, the majority of the times when people have acted mean towards me has been because they didn't get what they wanted from me. And if I would have just listened, you know, I wouldn't have to experience that. But at the same time, I remember the first and the only time I had ever experienced depression in my life was when I tried to make somebody happy who didn't know how to make themselves happy. Which means when I do something because they said it would make them happy, it was never good enough. The way I did it wasn't the way they wanted. I should have done it better, and you know what? I'm done with that. I'm done being responsible for other people's happiness. I'm done being responsible for people who don't know how to take care of themselves. I'm sick of being exposed to energies that take, and at the end of it, they're taking all of the energy from me, you know? I'm sick of putting myself through that, and this is why I'm working on my confidence. This is why I prioritize my health. This is why I want to give myself the best quality of life, because I'm sick of experiencing stuff like that. I'm sick of feeling like my worth as a human being is in my ability to make others happy. I'm sick of it, you know? And I don't want to do that to myself anymore. And that's why I want to work on my confidence, because at the root of all of this is just me trying to be myself unapologetically and spread peace, love, and enlightenment, and hope that others learn more about themselves so that they can give themselves the best quality of life, because we all deserve it. But unfortunately, there are some people who put that in the hands of others, and that's why they'll never be happy, because they don't do it for themselves. They wait for somebody else to do it for them, and then they get mad because other people can't do that for you. You have to do that for yourself, you know? One of the habits I know I definitely need to break is that I tend to stick to people like glue. I stick to them like glue until one day I realize that I'm not getting what I need, or that I'm giving them more than I'm giving myself, and I need to pull back, you know? I realize that I've done this multiple times in my life, where there's somebody I connect with and I love being around them. I feel great being around them. We have an amazing time, great energy, you know. And eventually at some point I start to realize that there are certain things that I need to do for myself. And the things that I'm doing for myself start to, either it feels like they don't get that the things I need to do for myself are important, or it feels like they don't put as much energy as I do into the relationship or friendship, you know? Like, I felt like there have been people in my life who I have been drawn to and I admire, and in effort to become friends with them and to just get to know them better, like, of course you gotta spend time with people to get to know them better, I will be there as, I'll be around them as much as possible, you know, just to get to know them. But sometimes I realize that just because I want to get to know them doesn't mean that they want to get to know me. I kind of hate realizing that I'm putting more of an effort in to be their friend than they are for me, and I don't like that, you know? I don't like feeling like I have to prove myself, or I have to fluff my feathers to be like, hey, look at me, like, I work hard too, you know, like I hate feeling like that. It's such a frustrating feeling. Like, it's happened to me before in the past where, you know, I will say I definitely can feel that I am the type of person, I'm very reserved, I'm very to myself, I'm an introvert. I'm not going to fully show you the full capacity of my energy or me until I feel comfortable around you, or until I feel like maybe you'll be comfortable with it. Like, back to my point of what I said before, I never want to make anybody uncomfortable. So I tend to tone down the type of person that I am, or tone down my energy. Yeah, like I just never want to make anybody uncomfortable, and sometimes it just takes me time to really figure out how I feel about people. So I never want to jump into something and be like, yeah, I'm gonna be your friend, and then they start having toxic behavior. I'm like, okay, I gotta go. Like, you know, like I like to take my time to get to know people, so I'm never going to fully put my energy into certain things unless I feel like I will put more energy than I usually would. When I say this, I don't want it to seem like in any way that I'm saying, hey, I'm putting effort into this friendship, so you better want to be my friend. Like, I don't mean that. I have no problem with somebody not wanting to be my friend, or with somebody not feeling genuinely connected to me the way that I do with them. But what pisses me off is when I've put the energy in to be their friend, they didn't care, but then when I walk away and then they start seeing me do other things, that's when their interest starts to come. That's when it's just like, oh, I saw that thing you did, that was really good. And it's just like, that pisses me off. Like, that happened to me before, where, like, I think this happens a lot where people have an idea of the type of person I am already before they even get to know me. And that, I hate it. I hate it. I hate when that happens, because I feel like that tends to happen with people who I already value, people who I want to connect with. And then I start questioning, okay, they never did anything to me that ever made me feel wrong or bad. It's just I feel like they have an idea of the type of person I am, and it's wrong. But I also don't want to fall into this ego-driven idea of having to prove myself to be something different from the idea they have of me. Like, that's on them. Like, I'm not here to prove that I'm not this person or that I am this person. I'm here to just, I want to be a friend, you know? Like, I just want to get to know you. And it sucks when I feel that. And honestly, I never want to feel that again. I never want to feel like I have to prove or show that I am a particular person to want somebody to be my friend, you know? I just want genuine energies. I want people that actually vibe with me. And it's just like, if you appreciate my energy, you do. And if you don't, you don't. But I hate being in this kind of like game of like, oh, I have an idea of the type of person she is. Like, I know who she is. Like, I know what she's gonna do or not do. You don't. You don't. You spoke to me for 2 minutes and you think you know me. You don't. You don't. You know? And like, I hate that. I hate that so much. So this is one of the things that I'm aware of, that I need to stay away from people that put me in a position in which I feel like I need to prove who I am, and that also I need to stay away from spaces in which I don't feel that I'm fully being appreciated for the type of person that I am, or that I don't feel like my goals matter. Like, I just can't stay in spaces where I'm pouring out this love and appreciation and support, and then feel like when I need that same love and support, it's not reciprocated in the same type of magnitude. Another thing is that I feel like in a lot of spaces in my life, I felt like the designated positive person. At the end of the day, being positive is a choice. I'm choosing to be positive because I've been through negativity. I've seen negativity, and I see how it manifests in people's life. I see how it creates limitations and makes people think that they're not capable of doing things, choosing one way of doing something and thinking that's the only way to accomplish it. I've seen what it does to people. And I choose positivity. I choose to see the light. I choose to take care of myself and nurture myself until I'm able to be in the best position or be where I need to be to give myself the best quality of life. I choose that. But it's frustrating when I fall down and there's nobody else that can lift me up. Like, I'm sorry, but it's frustrating when I can hear somebody talk about something they're experiencing and I can validate their emotions. I can tell them, hey, like, these are some options. I can sit with them in it. I can be with them through that moment. I can check on them every day. And then when I feel bad and I express that, it's like, man, I'm sorry. It'll be okay. And then it's like, hey, by the way, I saw this meme the other day and it's funny. No, I hate that. Like, I can't do that anymore. And I realize that I just need to be around other positive people. I don't want to be the designated positive person. I want to be a positive person amongst other positive people. Also, as an empath and my moon is a water sign, I navigate through life emotionally. So my emotions are very important to me. It's very important that I'm around people who are accepting of when I'm not okay, that they don't guilt me for not feeling okay, that they are receptive and validating of these moments in my life, and that I also feel that I can be vulnerable around them, because I've felt before where me being vulnerable kind of seemed like it was an opportunity for others to say, well, oh, this doesn't bother me, or oh, that shouldn't bother you. Why do you feel that way? And I can't be around people like that, because I've said this before in previous videos, following my instinct has been so difficult, and I realize now that it's because I've been around people who either neglect their emotions, like they don't talk about them, they exude passive aggressive behavior, they can't really talk about their feelings, they just know anger, and anger is the easiest thing for them to act on. They can't really talk about being sad. They can't really talk about other emotions. And for me, I'm sorry, but that's kind of a red flag. It's a red flag to me if you're always angry, if you're passive aggressive, if when I communicate my emotions to you, you give me a okay or a nothing. You change the subject like that. That's a red flag to me, you know? And I need to be around people who are capable of talking about their emotions, who are okay with being vulnerable, because, like I said, that's how I navigate through life. And if I'm around people who aren't capable of communicating that way, or if they neglect their emotions or numb themselves out or whatever the case may be, is going to be extremely difficult for me to communicate with you, because I'm not going to feel safe around you, and I'm not going to be able to express myself. Like, I realize that when I'm around energies like that, I tend to second guess, okay, should I say this? It might make them angry. Should I express this? They may not care. And I've also been in situations where I have expressed, hey, I don't like this particular thing, or hey, when you do this, it hurts me. And either they say sorry after doing it and they continue to do it, or they say sorry, they don't do it, but then they start doing it again a couple months later. And it's like, I don't know how to deal with that. Like, I can't deal with that. I'm not going to deal with that. And I think that's another thing that I feel like people who tend to like police emotions, I feel like it's kind of just their way of wanting to validate their actions for not holding themselves accountable. Because if I keep saying, you're hurting me, this hurts, ouch, stop, and your reaction is, why does it hurt you? You're too sensitive. What's wrong with you? It's like, what's not clicking? What's not clicking? I said, ow. You know, like that has been one of the most frustrating things when I communicate this hurts, and instead of stopping, like immediately stopping something, when somebody's first reaction is, well, why does it hurt you? Or it shouldn't hurt you. I can't be around you. That's a red flag, because my emotions are here to communicate to me what I am not and what I am okay with. You know, like this, my emotions are communicating to me like, this is how you improve your quality of life. And if somebody has a problem with how I improve my quality of life, maybe you don't deserve to be in it. Like, maybe you shouldn't be around me, because we operate on two different frequencies, completely different frequencies. And I'm sorry, but my mental health, my quality of life is not, it's not up for discussion. You know, it's not. So it's very important to me that I'm around others who are okay with me being vulnerable, are okay with me not being okay, and validate my emotions, make me feel seen, make me feel heard. That's just important. You know, this is extremely important to me. Which brings me to my next point of self-love and self-care. I feel like there isn't a lot of discussion about the fact that there are things that are good for you that may be painful in the beginning, and you get the results of those things after, versus there are things that are bad for you that will never harm you, but in the long run you'll see how they're not getting you where you really need to be. And one of the biggest things I've realized is that the things that have kind of kept me in the same space of being okay with certain things in my life have been the things that have been comforting, you know, the things or the spaces that I have shared with others where we have been cathartic and spoken about what we've experienced, where I have felt definitely validated and seen in those moments. There wasn't much of a drive to change much. It was kind of like, it was more about sharing an idea or sharing an experience and not really doing what was needed to get out of it, you know? I feel like the places that have really kept me comfortable with being in pain have been comforting or familiar spaces. But I felt like when I had to start making the decision to put the effort in to change my experience, that's when it became painful. That's when it became difficult to walk away from certain interactions, when it became difficult to, I don't know, it's just extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult to have the strength to walk away from people that you love. It's extremely difficult to tell people, hey, I can't do this anymore, and I can't tell you when I will be able to again. I can't tell you if I want to again. Like, you know, it's extremely difficult to realize that you don't want to spend your time doing something anymore that you used to love, but now it's not what you love anymore. Now it seems like it's keeping you at a standstill or keeping you in a space where you don't want to be anymore. And this is when you have to have that accountability, when you have to be aware of your actions. You have to be aware of, am I doing something today that'll bring me further from where I want to be, or am I doing something that's keeping me in the same place? Like, at the end of the day, you have to stop pointing fingers and blaming others and being like, you're the reason I can't do this, or if you would have just not done that, I wouldn't have had to deal with this. It's just like, you have to be accountable. You have to say to yourself, like, what is it that I'm doing that's keeping me here? What do I have to do to get to where I need to be? And at the end of the day, nobody can hold our hands through all of this. Like, we have to have the strength as individuals to get to where we want to be. It is what it is. Like, I think that a lot of people kind of don't realize, or at least for me, I'll speak from my experience. I feel like a lot of people in my life do not realize when I am giving them my all. And because when I realize I'm giving them my all and I stop, it's a very drastic difference because I'm giving them my all. But I think how do I describe this? Giving people my all isn't okay because I have to give myself something, like the celebrity makeup artist Harush has spoken about this, that when you are helping others, like let's say you have a cup, you fill your cup for yourself, and then whatever overflows from the cup is what you give to other people. That way you're never at a deficit for yourself. Like, you have to take care of yourself. You have to make sure that you're okay. And when I give everybody what's in my cup, and I have nothing left, I'm looking at the fact that I have nothing left. Meanwhile, other people, or the people that I've been giving everything to, are just like, well, why aren't you giving anything to me anymore? And I'm like, my cup's empty. And they're like, why aren't you here? Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? Why aren't you this and the other? And I'm like, yo, my cup is empty. Like, it's like, hello, like, I'm trying to explain to you, I ain't got nothing left. I have nothing left. Stop asking me why I'm not around. I have nothing left, And that is the toxic behavior that I need to change. I keep giving to people what's in my cup instead of what's overflowing from it. That is why I have to hold myself accountable and pull back from people a little bit more. And that's what I've been doing, like just prioritizing my own self-love and self-care, because they can't help me through this, like, yes, people can help you. Like, I'm not trying to say nobody can help you. Yes, people can help you. Yes, sometimes we need assistance in life, but nobody can walk me through editing a video. Like someone cannot hold my hand for the rest of my life and be like, okay, this is how you do a cut. All right, this is how you put this together. This is how you do an effect. Can I look those things up on my own? Yes, that's holding myself accountable. Putting the effort in to learn how to do these things. Putting the effort in to be like, hey, I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to take the time to learn how to do it. That's holding myself accountable. But waiting for somebody to teach me how to do this, or waiting for the perfect opportunity to learn how to do this, like, that's putting it in the hands of others, and I'm not doing that anymore. And one of the biggest parts of self-love and self-care that I realized for myself last year is what I do, my art and cosplay and makeup. I realized that when I did it less frequently, like when I drew or when I cosplayed or when I did my makeup less frequently last year, that is when I started to feel the least amount of confidence. That's when I started to feel a little bit more insecure. I felt insecure a lot last year. And the moments when I didn't feel that was when I was more consistent with working on my art, when I was more consistent with cosplaying, when I was more consistent with doing my makeup. And those are things that are very personal and for me, like, I don't know how to describe it, but I've spoken about this before, that for me, taking pictures of myself and doing my makeup and all of that, like, it's important to me because on the average day before the pandemic, I don't think that we look at ourselves a lot. Like, I feel like when we look at ourselves, it's to brush our teeth and to go off to our job. We look in the mirror to get dressed, which is usually in a rush, and we grab our food and we run out, Like, we don't really look at ourselves. And when you take pictures, or for me, when I'm doing my makeup, I have to learn my features. Like, I have to learn where my cheekbones are, where I want to contour. And doing my makeup is literally like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like me learning about me. It's me seeing myself differently. It's about me expressing myself visually. It's about me seeing the beauty in myself that maybe without my makeup I didn't see, you know? And I've experienced this multiple times where after a day of wearing my makeup, after I take it off and I look in the mirror, I feel more beautiful than before I had put my makeup on. It's weird to explain. I don't know how many others have experienced this. Before I have my makeup on, so when I'm barefaced, I have nothing on, it's just like, I'm alright. Cool, I'm chilling. And then when I put on my makeup, I'm like, I feel like a bad bitch. I feel pretty fierce. I feel good. I feel the energy, you know, it's doing something, you know? And then after I take off my makeup, I'm like, wow, I am beautiful, you know? Like that's always been kind of like what I experienced with makeup. And I've always, like before YouTube, I was always, and I still am an introvert, so I'm less likely to say something unless I feel like I have something important to say. So it's always been more natural for me to express myself visually, which is why I like doing stuff like art or cosplay or makeup, because it's not about what I say, it's about how I show it, you know? It's always been more natural for me to express myself that way. So that's another reason why makeup is a part of my self-love, self-care journey, because it's another way for me to express. It's another way for me to talk, and I feel peace and love and light, enlightenment from the moments where I express myself. So it's very important for me to do that, to practice self-love and self-care. And even if I'm taking makeup photos, or even with cosplay, the way that it helps with my confidence and with my self-love, self-care journey is that these characters that I used to admire when I was younger, and I used to think of as a separate entity from myself, it's like now I can bring that energy out in what I'm doing. You know, it allows me to see myself as this character that I admired. It's like, it's no longer that I'm admiring this character. Now I am this character. I'm bringing this energy out from within me. You know, I'm claiming that I can be this strong. I'm claiming that I can be whomever that I want to be, that I can look a certain way, that I can, you know, exude this energy that I always admired in a separate entity from me. Like, I'm finding that within myself and I'm showing that. That's why I love doing these things. And when I don't do these things, I start to lose that vision of myself. I start to lose what it is within me that I eternally am driven off of. You know, it's like it's a consistent, infinite energy within me that can do these things. But if I'm not putting the energy out to come back to me, you know, so to speak, I'm not really feeling my confidence. I'm not feeling what I need to, which is why it's so important for me to do these things, so that I can bring that energy out into the world, and then hopefully bring that energy to other people in other spaces where they feel moved or motivated, or feel that they can see and find that beauty within themselves. Like, that's what's important to me. And to move into my next point, which isn't really related to what I was just talking about, but I guess in some way, if it's something that holds me back, yeah, it is kind of related. But one of the things I realized in 2020 is that with the way that I was raised, it was kind of like I was taught that bad things happen because I didn't listen. So because I was taught that idea, I feel, and I can see how it's affected other parts of my life, because when it comes to things like social media, where people are very particular about the actions of others and will over magnify what people do, and it's kind of like I don't know how to describe it, but I hope it's coming across. Like, it's like, yes, there are very beautiful spaces in social media, but there's parts of social media where people just magnify the actions of others, and they're like, well, who are you following? Who are you not following? Why are you posting a picture of a dress? That dress is ugly. I told you that dress was that color. What? Like, in a world of things like that on social media. And for me, being in a space in my life where I'm still unlearning the idea of bad things happen because I didn't listen, it becomes very difficult for me to navigate from my emotions, because like I said, I'm still going through the motions of being in spaces that validate my emotions. So validating my emotions is very important because it helps me figure out what I am and what I'm not okay with. But if I do not have an idea of how to follow my instinct, and on top of that I still have this idea of bad things happen because I didn't listen, then I'm allowing other people to dictate what isn't or what is okay. And I'm becoming pretty much like a puppet to everybody, and I'm not really living my life through my true essence. I'm living my life through what I'm afraid of and what I am not afraid of, or what others are afraid of. I'm not living for me. The point is, I'm not living for me. The reason why I bring this up is because I feel like it's something that's very subtle, that can be in somebody's upbringing, that can be in the way that they were raised. And if you don't unlearn it, I feel like it can become very difficult for you as an individual to do what's best for you, because you're more concerned about whether or not you listen to someone as opposed to whether or not you listen to yourself. For me, I'm realizing that that's a lot of where my anxiety lies, my ability to listen to others. Because also another thing is like the idea of respecting your elders and that elders know everything. Like literally when I was little, because of the way I was taught to respect my elders, I felt like it meant everything I didn't know. If you're older than me, if you're a year older than me, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, if you're older than me, you know the answer. That's the mentality I used to think of when I was younger, because it's the way I was raised. People can be however age, but age doesn't mean that you know more. It doesn't mean that you have this idea of having everything figured out versus somebody who's younger than you that doesn't. Somebody who's older can learn something from somebody who's younger, and somebody who's younger can learn something from somebody who's older. I feel like there are these little small things, small behaviors or small ideas that have been like planted in my brain from when I was younger that I feel like affect my ability to do things now as an adult. Because at the end of the day, you don't just magically learn how to do these things that people have told you how to do. It's just like, if I was never taught how to save money, but I'm supposed to magically learn how to do that at whatever age, at 26, 25, like, I don't know, like, what's the age for me to spontaneously understand how to save money? Like, I don't know, you know, like, what am I saving for? Can I spend it when I have a particular enough money for a thing I want to buy? Should I save it until something like, what? I don't know. I know this is a random segue, but anyway, like, pretty much at the root of this, what I'm trying to say when it comes to bad things happening and the idea of bad things happen because we didn't listen, I think that it should be taught that bad things happen and to learn coping mechanisms to deal with it. I think that a lot of people, when something bad happens, they're like, oh my god, like, look at this thing that happened, you know? And I'm not saying there's an issue with that, but I think that a lot of us have, or at least for me, I'll speak for myself, I think that I've seen a lot of situations, or I have been in particular situations where when something goes wrong or when something bad happens, we act out of fear. And when you act out of fear, you're creating that situation again. So let's say, for example, let's say there's a guy, right? There's a guy who, when he was very little, at 5 years old, he one day saw his mom wear heels, and he's never seen his mom ever wear heels. Like, he's always seen his mom in sneakers. And the one day he saw her wear heels, she fell on her face, broke her nose, and that was the first time he ever saw his mom with blood, and it terrified him. And then let's say years later, when he has a girlfriend, from when he was younger and he saw his mom fall in heels, from that day, he's always seen heels as something bad or evil. So he's always told her, don't wear heels, don't wear heels. And whenever he sees a pothole in the ground, he would reach out to grab her, right? Because he would have an idea in his head that she's going to fall, because that's the same way his mom fell. So let's say he develops this habit in which every time he sees his girlfriend or wife or whomever wearing heels, he reaches out to grab her. And then let's say one day he realizes he doesn't have to because he's never seen her fall in heels. And the day that he doesn't reach out to grab her, she's already anticipating that he will grab her, and she actually falls and hurts herself because he didn't grab her like he usually does. This is how you create a situation out of fear, because you have acted on what has happened in the past and you've manifested it again. Now, although that example was random as hell, I hope it makes sense that if you continue to create actions out of fear or rooted in fear, that you are going to manifest the thing that you are afraid of. And that can happen with anything in life. Even though I gave an example about heels and whatever, my point is that we can do that with anything. If we continue to create actions out of fear or rooted in fear, you're manifesting the thing that you're afraid of. So the idea of, or the reason why I have an issue with the idea of bad things happen because I didn't listen, is that I start to create anxiety around things that are normal for me, like, or should be normal. It's just like, oh, I was told that I shouldn't do this. So I now have a fear of if I should do it or not because of what I was told, versus me knowing that I should just know better, like I should just know if something is okay or not okay to do. And it's not based around an opinion, it's based around what I feel, my actual instinct to know if something's going to create harm for me or if it's not. And I think even just the idea of bad things happening, I think that if you introduce coping mechanisms and that you take the time to be accountable and understand if you're doing something that's going to help you navigate through your emotions when something bad happens, that you get better at dealing with it. I think that there is, at least for me, I will say that I've definitely experienced moments where I have dealt with a particular situation or dealt with particular energy from people, and I kind of reach a point where it's just like, okay, I understand that they're going to do this. I understand that this is something that's going to happen whenever I interact with them, but I feel sometimes like I should not be emotionally affected by it. But I am, I'm annoyed by it. I don't like when they do a particular thing. I don't like when people are passive aggressive to me. I don't like when people yell at me. I don't like when people talk loud for no reason. And by no reason, I mean like it feels like they're being aggressive. Like it feels like I don't know what they're gonna do. Like I don't like that type of loud talking. Like I don't like when I cannot perceive the actions of what somebody's going to do based off of their tone. I don't like that, And for me, even after, like as an empath, after I've left that interaction, sometimes if I'm not conscious and aware of what's going on in terms of like my own emotions, if I'm not taking the time to get to know myself better and understand how I emotionally deal with things, then I could feel horrible for days. But if I take the time to understand my emotions and I understand, okay, when this happens, maybe I need to lay down more. Maybe I need to watch certain cartoons that make me feel better. Maybe I need to read more. Maybe I need to play more video games. Like if I introduce coping mechanisms into my life and I understand there are certain things that I need to do to make sure that I'm okay after interactions like that, I could repetitively walk into interactions with people like that or be in interactions with people like that because I'm just anticipating it. And when I anticipate it, it may be clear as day that it would have happened, but I'm not going to see that because I'm too afraid of it happening. So now I'm walking into it as opposed to being conscious and aware of, there's a red flag, walk away, like there's so many things that I feel like we could avoid and not be in, but because we're acting out of fear, we're acting out of whatever it was that hurt us, we're manifesting that thing for ourselves again. And, if we're just taught how to navigate through our emotions, to validate our emotions, if we're taught more about understanding ourselves as opposed to absorbing the opinions of others and allowing others to decide our life for us before we even know what life is, like I think that we could give ourselves like such a much better quality of life. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for sticking around if you made it to the end. I'm not sure how often I'll do videos like this. I enjoy sharing what I've learned and helping others, but honestly, with the changes I've made in my life, I've realized that I tend to do videos like this around after being triggered, whereas for this video in particular, I did it because I want to set the tone for the year and share what I've learned with you guys. I don't know, like I'll make videos like this when I can, but I would definitely say like it's definitely going to be less frequent than it was for the first year of making this channel. But for you guys that stick around and you listen, and thank you for being here. You know, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting me, for validating my emotions. I hope that me sharing these things is validating for you too, because I think it's so important to connect with others who share similar experiences but also are willing to put the effort in. Guys, like, please remember, it's so important to put the effort in, to apply action, to do what you can within whatever space you're in to give yourself the best quality of life. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Bless up, and until next time, sending out much peace, love, and enlightenment. Bye guys.